And now, ladies and gentlemen, and now... a lesson in how I fucked up. One of the things that I love to do, this is just my favorite shit ever, is to take responsibility for the times when I lose at a video game. It's actually my favored pastime. So, let us travel now into some replays. Let's start with a theme here, so we can do maybe some content that's more cohesive and tight. How about asking one of the ancient questions of the world, which is, what the fuck am I supposed to do against Mech? I'm gonna take some notes here, because you can point out stuff, but then you can also write it down. Once upon a time, there's Terran player. A Terran player with, I think, 5.6k MMR. Pretty good. Who plays a mech style. Now, one of the things that mech players love to make is the Hellion. And I believe this match, I may have taken too much damage to Hellions. But that's just my guess. Let's just let the replay speak for itself. Build Vipers. Vipers are pretty far down the tech tree. Let's take it one step at a time. So we're just doing our opening build here. So far, nothing has been totally messed up. I've got my drones going. I'm gonna go for a third base pretty quick. Getting my queens. My opponent is making a Reaper and then no Marine. So this kind of player is vulnerable to 4 lings that run around the map. And this opponent didn't SCV scout. Did they not SCV scout? Let's check their scouting information. Okay, this opponent has not gotten any scouting information. And they're open and greedy, so this is good to know. 4 DGA4. Thank you for that. 38 months, holy crap. Okay, so it's a Reaper. Into a factory. No Marine. A bit unusual, but Terran can do what they want. Okay, there's an attack here. Reactor. Okay, cool. We got our third base up. I got my ling speed going. Queens are working hard trying to spread creep and stuff. I'm a little bit supply blocked. No, actually no. Overlord came out just in time. So the early game is pretty nice. The opponent didn't really go for much that was aggressive yet. Tech Lab Starport coming up. Trying to crank out constant queens. My drone production has been pretty good. I got my Bane Nest. If I knew that this was a mech player, the Roachworn is a little bit more sturdy. You can still defend stuff with Banes. Basically, you just want to get a scout after they've committed to either mech or bio. This is still a neutral sort of opening. They're not committed to mech or bio until they get double armory, double engineering bay, or stim, something like that. This is simply the opening. So I'm going for a scout, and what do we see? Banshee, Cloak, Marine, Hellions. So the Hellions drive into the third here. Where are my queens? You should think about what your neutral stance is. Where are my queens and what are they doing? Okay, I've got 3, which is not very many. There's a 4th queen going there. Cool. So I'm kind of low on queens. But I think they should be here. Walling off the natural seems pretty good. How many workers did I lose there? 7. That's a pretty big ouch. I don't need to mine from this third base yet. It might be better to just have 24 out of 16 on my natural and be able to defend it. It's better to mine inefficiently than to be dead. I think that's a point that many people can agree upon. Better, slightly inefficient mining. Better to mine at 80% than 0%. Just some quick math for you there. So I did lose a few workers. And some of the Hellions did escape. Double gases here. Opponents making SCVs, adding some factories. And the Lings are trying to block stuff traveling around. Cool. How many Lings do I have right now? I have 10 Lings against 7 Hellions. That's not going to be enough, I don't think. The Queens are nice, but their job is going to be to deal with Hellbats and Banshees, not really chase Hellions around. So I did make some more Lings. Nice. But my worker count kind of sucks. If we add 7 and assume that I didn't lose any, I would be in a decent spot, I think. Not an amazing spot, but a decent one. So we'll say the early game for me, on a scale from 1 to 10 for how good it went, it's probably a 3. That's how I feel. I don't know for sure whether it's Mech or Bio, so I did an Overseer Scout. This is something that I'm going to give myself credit for. A lot of times you just lose a match and you feel really frustrated and don't know what to do and you're just mad at yourself. A way to offset that is to give yourself some credit for some things that you don't consistently do, but you did this time. So getting an Overseer Scout in whenever the commitment to Mech or Bio is happening. Awesome. So I know that it's Mech. I don't know whether it's Cyclone Mech or Tank Mech, and my opponent hasn't even made either of those units yet, so that's to be determined. But still, it's a good scout. I'm trying to drone up here. Banshees are just dying. So I kind of defended that. Not very pretty. Let's be rigorous students and then write down one of the leaks here. We'll say layers next 100 gas. I will say don't transfer drones to third base until you have Lings, Queens to defend them. And then I'll put as another line here, lost 7 drones to a simple run by, then retreat at third on Death Aura. Cool, and then after that second attack, we've lost 16 workers. So I'll say this early mid game was quite bad. I don't feel like I'm ahead. I'm ahead in workers, but Terran has 2 orbital commands. This one is going to be something. Probably another orbital command. Yep. So now I'm just straight up behind. This is not covered for Nidus. So if I did a roach opening with queens and stuff, there might be a slight window there. But the tank production is pretty delayed. Now it's going to be Blue Flame and the mag field accelerators for the Cyclones. So we're up against Battle Mech. How are my upgrades? I got my 1-1 going. I'm behind the opponent in 1-1. How many Lings? Okay, I have 40 Lings. I feel like I could have killed those Cyclones. That was a really dangerous move. Did they just send those Cyclones over here to kill an Overlord? There were some Hellions here too. Yeah. That's actually pretty safe because they have all this area that they can use against Lings. Did a Ling run by. This is not worth it. Let's look at the math of this. I think this was against Bio, super clutch, amazing play. Against Blue Flame Mech, really bad. Because we've got 40 Lings, that's 20 drones worth of larva. Ouch. These Lings could get some guaranteed value. They could break these. They could break these. They could break these. They could break these. They could burrow here, here, and there. They could get in position for a counterattack. They could just chill here and then trip up this base whenever it's being set up. But I think this is not a worthwhile trade for me. If I got into the main, maybe. But that's hoping the opponent makes a big mistake. So I'm getting up to a good economy size. This is a nice play. This map, it's pretty tough to break Terran on 4 bases. It kind of feels like I get these for free. They could just sit on tanks and stuff. Spread them out and just chill. And this kind of match, just for the human element, it's pretty frustrating, especially when you feel like you were working a lot harder for the match than your opponent. Some people will cite, well, I have double the opponent's APM, or I had map control the whole time, or something like that. But that doesn't mean that you necessarily are going to have the win. In this game, I lost a bunch of workers early on, which is the most crucial part of the game, which meant that my opponent can very comfortably and passively just sit on 4 bases and just stay slightly ahead until they get to a really good army composition. So they're just trying to mass tanks, make enough Thors so they don't die to mutas or broodlords or something. And yeah, cranking out that mech stuff with better upgrades than I have. 2-2 are going. Okay, so I can't break that. I'm trying to spread creep. Do you have to be on 4 bases to get Vipers safely? Yeah, usually if you're thinking about the bases of gas, 2 base gas income is enough to afford upgrades, roaches, and roach speed and stuff. 3 bases, you can add on hydras with hydra upgrades. 2-2, and you can work toward your hive. And then the 4th base of gas you could use for Vipers. Something that I'm not very good at, and I don't even know if this is a good idea, would be to go for broods against this. Because the tank count is 6 heckin' teen. This is so many siege tanks that can't do anything against broods. So if I truly did have map control and way more money than my opponent, I could set up for a broodlord switch. It's a really value dense unit. I would need to have a lot of support for that, which I basically have. I have Vipers, which would support the broods. Queens can, Hydras can. So I think that may be a good follow-up army composition, because what is my opponent's game plan here? They want to have a super strong ground versus ground army composition. Let's look at their scouting information. What have they scouted? Okay, they didn't scout. But that's okay, because their army is really sturdy and solid, and it does well against most stuff. And if they're not out on the map, they're not really risking too much at all. They're just chilling. So this is a defensive, let's get maxed out and then let's push kind of a strat. Okay, that was an amazing siege here. So how can I outmaneuver this army? I think that might be a good question here. I did a little Bane attack there, doing some Bane drops. And there's a sensor tower here too that shows the movements of my army. So the opponent's moving down here, and they see my army, so they siege. And I'm not really going to be able to break this. The 3 Thors are going to be countering my Vipers mainly. That's kind of their job in this format. I have a bunch of Hydraling, Bane, Viper, but I can't fight these directly. This is way too much DPS. It's just a silly amount of tanks. If I had these Vipers doing something like Blinding Clouds on this, that could be better. The Vipers could come in from an unexpected angle. We'll say that's an improvement. Vipers should approach Mech Army from surprise angle. Thors are trying to snipe them, so you need to be careful. And then let's say if the opponent is being completely turtled, spread creep as fast as possible and set up for ultimate army composition as next max out. So first max out would be what? Roach Hydra Viper against Mech. Say this is versus Mech, a whole section. Okay, first max out is Roach Hydra Viper. Second max out is 10 to 15 Corruptors. 2 to 3 Vipers, Hydras, / Queen. And we can have the Queens and the Hydras just sit with the Broods. I should probably get something that's fast to defend stuff. That could be add a bunch of static D if I want to keep my bases safe. That would be good. It can also make a small Mutaflock to pick off Banshees, Hellions, things like that. That'll be a decent approach here. But yeah, I don't like this army composition fighting in this way against this army is incorrect. I should fall back. Imagine if I had a bunch of... Dude, this opponent doesn't even have starports. Hold on. This is amazing. There's not even a single add-on on a starport in the game, and there's only one starport. So yeah, I think Broodlord Critical Mass is actually the play against this. If I scouted this. So I should get an Overseer Scout. Yeah, I basically know. I haven't even seen a starport this game. That's hilarious. And there's only one. Usually you assume they make 2. But I guess that's a false assumption. So Hydra Viper kind of sucks here. Just on its own. I should be playing Spire. Awesome. And then the rest of the match I just get obliterated. As you could tell by the tanks. So if they go all factory... If they go all factory, we should go heavy Broodlord. Like really heavy. Lurkers kind of suck. I was trying to do Lingbane Hydra Lurker Viper, and it doesn't feel like you hit a point where, oh yeah, I can really beat this mech army. You can move into tank fire and they kill 4 or 5 of your lurkers right away, and just ouch. This is another match against Turtle Mech, so we're trying to work from this theme of why did I die to Turtle Mech. The opponent starts seeing Corruptors. Won't the mech player just switch into more Thors? It's a big if, because that opponent didn't scout me at all, aside from the Hellion attack. But say they did scout, you're going to have Queen Hydra as a complement for that. So if you have, say, 15 to 20 broods, you should be able to beat any number of Thors if you can Blinding Cloud. So you Blinding Cloud the Thors with the Vipers, and then the Broodlords just kick ass. That's the idea. Or you can neural the front line of Thors. So you grab their front 3 or 4 Thors with Infestors with Neural Parasite, and then your Broodlords kick ass. The main things that you'll be worried about would be Vikings, but Corruptors are fine against Vikings. So this is CC on the high ground. So this is actually... I think he blindly went for a really good opening against my build. Yeah, nice. So I went pool first, and the opponent went for CC on the high ground. So this perfectly countered my harass. Good guess. Broodlords. It's a unit that sucks in a lot of situations against mech, and that's why it's really hard to figure out when to build it. Because if you put a Broodlord in its element, where it has support against air units and it has really big numbers against Thors, it can be really good. But if you have unupgraded Broodlords without support, Thors just annihilate them, and it's very sad to watch. Okay, so we're taking our Evos. Double factory. Okay. So it's mech. We're droning. We've got a drone lead here. There's an attack. I have Queen Roach against this, which is fine. I made Overlords through that. I should make all drones, I think. units. Production. Drones. +2 attack, +1 armor, burrow, and tunnel. Nice. Burrow is really nice against Turtle Mech. It just gives you so much info about when they're going to expand. So I was doing this because I know this guy had turtles with Mech. And there's not harass. Like if you're looking at the units moving around on the map, there are no units moving around on the map. And a lot of Mech players will do this where their goal isn't to set the Zerg off balance at all. Their goal is just to consistently crank out the next unit that allows them to survive defensively and then will be good in a maxed out push. And that's what Hellbat Tank Thor is all about. It's all about sitting at home and fitting really nicely into the 200 supply max out. And Viper, Roach Hydra Viper used to be the go-to every single time in Heart of the Swarm, but something changed in Legacy of the Void, so it's not as lethal as it used to be. Can anyone tell me 1 or 2 changes as to why Viper attacks with Roach Hydra are not as lethal as they used to be? Hellbat Thor tank. This is awesome. These Overlord plays are pretty badass. Look at this. We still can't land the base. The Tunnel Roach harass didn't really do very much, but the Burrow harass here with the Ling is pretty nice. At this point in the game, I feel like I'm ridiculously far ahead. But my drone count actually sucks. I have 42 Lings. What? Why? This doesn't really make sense to me. The Lings, they're not a good harass unit against Mech. Just because, like, look at this. They're sitting at home. They're already at home. Ling counters are the best against an opponent who is attacking you. And a Mech turtle player does not attack you until 200 supply. So mixing in Lings in this composition, maybe some for the Burrow, or maybe some for dedicated Banes, but I should have at least made half of these into drones before this. So let's look at where that mistake happened and think about what I saw, what I was thinking about, and what I should do. So I have the 40 Lings. When did I make those units? Hydra nerfs would be your bet. Split Hydra upgrades. It was the Thor. Yes, that's one of them. The long range mode is really good against Broodlords. And the Viking got more HP. So Vikings can be traded pretty aggressively into the first few Vipers. Even in small number, they put a ton of pressure on them. And they survive a lot longer than they used to in Huts because they have more HP. Okay, I'm looking for the links. That was what I was trying to do. So now Zerg has to grumpily make other units to win. Burp, burp. Okay. What am I doing? I'm breaking rocks and making Lings. That's not what I should be doing, I don't think. I should be droning. Because I feel confident after defending that attack. So just for my overall mindset, I wanted to tech a whole bunch. I wanted to break rocks to open up the map so I can take good fights later. Lings aren't really even that good at breaking rocks, so they're not even good for that purpose. And if my upgrades are Tunnel Roaches and I'm getting range +2, that's the furthest along upgrade I have. I should probably make Hydras. Actually, I can't make Hydras. I should probably make Roaches because I get the Burrow and Tunnel Claws, so that upgrade gets applied to even more units of value. And I have more minerals than gas, and Roaches are 3-to-1 ratio. Probably made the Lings because I didn't have very much gas, and I was like, let's make a mineral unit. But my economy size is not that good. I have 66. In this case, against a turtling player, just like instantly getting 80 as fast as you can would be good. And you can just get Hive and Aspire. Let's do that. Let's just try that. Hive plus Spire right away versus turtle player. Just to put pressure. And if they do scout it, a lot of times they'll be like, oh shit, I need to make a bunch of Vikings. But before your Greater Spire is done, you're not obligated to make Broodlords. You could just have Hydra Viper, Corruptor or something and crush the Vikings and then win the ground. So you shouldn't think about Hive plus Spire as being a risk that can be hard countered just by the scout. It's not really. That wasn't very effective. That was a lot of roaches. These tanks have +1 attack. The opponent was at home, and this is the theme. If the opponent is sitting at home with the highest DPS defensive units in the game, harassing is not the play. Drone like fuck is the play. Just ridiculously fast droning. This should have like 20 workers at it, and then you grab gases, take a 5th base, and then get the queens up here. I think this would be a good overlord spot. Queens can just run up here, put a bunch of creep, and then you can creep this high ground. So I should have more creep presence and drone to 80 faster. Okay, versus Mech. The opponent is being completely turtled. Spread creep as fast as possible. Nice. We already got that. Drone to 80 ASAP. The opponent has 61 SCVs. Wow. This is also single starport. So this person plays the same way as the other Terran. Maybe this is like a known thing. All factory but 1 starport. Is this a Terran thing? I get these matches maybe 1 in 20 from Terran. Maybe more than that. I got 3 of them today. Jeez. The issue is the battle mech you can't drone up to 80. Yeah, but once they start, they're kind of committed. So we could go to the key moment where that choice was made. What time in the game does a Terran commit to either slow mech or battle mech? There's this random attack, which I feel like is not the commitment yet. We'll just call that Terran's weird early game opening. So around 6 minutes, their setup is about done. These could have been Cyclones or some other early harass unit. So we'll ignore that. But yeah, we defend this attack. And then if I scouted right now, I would know. Because I would see their next dedicated cycle of units, which is tank. And it's not really good to switch from slow mech into battle mech right away. I don't think. Because you don't have momentum. Battle mech feels more like they want to be driving across the map, locking on, killing a bunch of your stuff, and then driving home. And they do that consistently from the start, and that's how they stay ahead. With the slow mech, if they just make like 2 Cyclones randomly now, I have way more stuff, so I would just crush it. So them continuing to make tanks seems like the only option they have. So yeah, around 7 minutes, you should know. So let's say 7-minute overseer to find out. 7-minute overseer to see battle versus turtle mech. Obviously, if Cyclones are attacking you, you also know that it's battle mech and don't need to scout. At least not at that time. If you wanted to play a harassment style, would Nidus be a better option? That's the thing, is this style, turtling, is dedicating everything they have to just not dying at home. So being in their base is usually not where you want to be. You want to be everywhere else. The opponent has no way of contesting me taking this base right now, or this base, or even having a bunch of queens doing slash dance right here. They could just be dancing right here on the map, and the opponent cannot come out because they would die to an attack. Yeah, just absorb the entire map. The name of the game is Resources. That's true. So you're trying to punch your worker lead up. You see slow mech, you punch your worker lead up. Right to 80. Right away. Just make sure you don't die to Hellion run by. Not every turn is going to be this passive with the Hellbats. Sometimes they'll drive like 6 into this space. They'll drive 4 into this space. And a lot of Terran will just throw 4 Hellions, just driving them around the map consistently into your worker line. Against that, 2 spines like this. 1 spine here, 1 spine here, 1 spine here, 1 spine here. I might do that later. This game. Yeah. Oh, messed up. But yeah, I should definitely have drawn this space a lot faster. Make fewer lings. Drone to 80. You could, in theory, whoa! 23-11 win-loss for today's session. None of your friends play, but you gotta tell someone. Appreciate all the guide content you made. Good fucking job, fam. Thank you for the $100. Jeez. 23-11. That probably feels pretty good. Enjoy those sessions. Today was pretty even for me. I think I went up a little bit, but I'm not quite where I would like to be. But hell yeah, good job. All right, now is when it's gonna be looking scary because the mech player is almost maxed. And this is when it's time to not turtle, maybe. Yep. Is this the same? It's 2 Thors. Last time it was 3 Thors, and it was a higher MMR Terran, but it seems like the same strat. So this is a strat, by the way. We just found out because multiple different Terran players did this on ladder today. Going for single starport, everything else factory, turtleneck. It's a thing. They will have so many tanks in the max out that if you made a ground army, they will just blast the bejesus out of it. It's brutal. You'll get to see it. Even if you have Vipers, it's just so much tank to cover with blinding clouds and stuff. You could, people have asked about this, but in this case, you could have a Spire. You're doing your Roach Hydra Viper max out stuff, right? But you have a Spire. And it's just been there since you found out they were turtling. You just dropped a Spire because you know that Spire has some units that you might want to make at some point. And you got the attack upgrade or the armor upgrade. And then you scouted at 7 minutes and you saw this. You could take, I don't know, a lot of your money and just spam lings and then make some Banes so that if they move out, you have some Ling Bane Hydra, but then you have, I don't know, these are +2/+1. You could slam mutas if they really committed on your side of the map and you could see that it was almost all tank and you had an upgrade. You could do that, but only if it's this kind of strat where they really commit hard to tank and they only make a couple Thors. But I've seen multiple Terrans do this. Maybe it's the same person on 2 different accounts or something. But there's a place for Spire units in Zerg versus Mech. And it might be here against Mass Factory. Is Spire the way against Mass Factory? It kind of is against double Robo-Bay in Protoss, because they're so committed to ground. It's really annoying for them to defend mutas and broodlords. This is just gnarly. It's not even their whole army. Look, he's got a shit ton of tanks at home, and we're still losing the fight. But let's fast forward this, or rewind, and see what if there was a Muta, just mix it in at some point. What if we did that? What if we mixed in Mutas? When would that be a good time? We're imagining that I have a Spire right now, and I'm thinking about making some Mutas. I almost have a Spire. Okay, so there's this partial push. 2 Thors, mass tank, a ton of Hellbat. So Banes would be good against the Hellbats if they can get there. The tank count is so high. But let's say I have 18 Mutas I could make. As this fight is happening, I make 18 Mutas. What if we did that? I got a pretty cool angle on this fight. That's not good. So we're in here and we're fighting. There are the 2 Thors here, which I might be able to kill. But I could slam out a whole bunch of Mutas. What does he have? A missile turret? He could make Thors with 1, 2, 3, 4. He can make 4 Thors at a time, but they take 43 seconds to make. So it takes a bit. If you just slammed out Mutas and then immediately started to switch back into Hydras, I think that could be really strong. Or switching into Broodlords. Broodlord Queen. Yeah, what are you going to do against 15 Mutas right now? Holy shit, these tanks are going to be scared shitless. That would be the Batman surprise. Okay, delete the VOD. No one can know about this strat. The Batman surprise strategy. Everything in this game can be counterplayed. Yeah, but I've won with Hydra Viper in the past, so shouldn't it work? No, this is good against Hydra Viper. If I'm a Terran player and I'm thinking about, hey, how do I play against Zerg? Okay, there's 7 Thors this time. But still 17 tanks. And a tank is how much supply? It's 3 supply. That's a lot of supply in tanks that can't fight Broodlords at all. It's a lot. Thors trade pretty well against Hydras. They kill him in like 2 hits. Jesus. Hydra versus Thor is not pretty. Lurker versus Thor is better. But it got nerfed a little bit. It used to be better than it was, I think. Now I have 92 workers. 95. I'm making drones because I think we need to play a resource game. But it's now going to be a really big problem to fight their army because I only have 17 Hydras, 11 Roaches, and 5 Vipers. Awesome. Well, I feel really good about this analysis. This kind of strat seems very exploitable, and I just wasn't exploiting it. Lurker Hydra Viper, yeah, it's pretty good when the Terran has a balance of air and ground. Say battlecruisers. There were battlecruisers in the game. In this match, in the previous mech match, the Terran was factory units all the way. There was one starport that had no add-on in both of these games. It still has no add-on. It's 1730. You have $1 million. You don't have an add-on in the starport. This is a strat. So, yeah, if they have a bunch of factories, they're going to crush your ground. Oof, it just really does not trade well. But if they have a bunch of starport units mixed in, they won't have as many tanks, and Hydra Lurker has a lot more success. Tanks and Thors both trade well against Hydras, it seems like. Defensively, at least. Which means you can't do anything about their defensive position. Release the Heck Muffins. I did try that in a game. Different game than this. And it almost worked. Almost. Sweet. So, I mean, we're doing stuff. We're getting damage. Units lost tab. It's going to look really painful. This map also seems good for mech. Yeah, I definitely want to mix Spire in, because Broodlords would also be able to go over all these cliffs, which is nice. And we're dead. Awesome. So this has been a study in figuring out how to exploit mass factory mech, slow mech, where they turtle on 4 bases. You can't kill them. With this strat, you can't really kill them with the ground attack very well, because they're investing everything they have in the highest possible defensive DPS. So you should get 80 drones as fast as possible. And then Spire, maybe mute a switch, maybe switch back to Broodlords, but Spire gives you a lot of flexibility, and you should be switching pretty dramatically between the kinds of tech that you're using so that you counter their next max out and you improve your overall max out, ideally. It becomes more high value, more gas rich. You do normally want to lower your worker count if you're trying to make the strongest possible army. So me going up to 96, it wouldn't fit as well. Ravagers are good against tanks? Yeah. Ravager Ling Bane Ravager could maybe work if you have the Ling Bane for the Hellbats and the Ravagers for the tanks. That would be better than Hydras. Well, cool. I feel a lot better about facing off against mech. I can see an obvious vulnerability in my play.